I got it again to run it all back, except I will be a lot more excited this time to talk through this video. If you didn't see my video I uploaded last week, I created a realistic Survivor 50 cast that we could possibly see, but that cast consisted of my personal worst possible people to be on the season. Whether that is the timing of when that player comes back, who they were casted over, or just me not really liking that person, I used any criteria I wanted to create that Doomsday cast. And I highly recommend you check that video out if you haven't already. And for today, I will be making another realistic Survivor 50 cast that follows the diversity mandate set, except I'm talking through what would be my best case scenario. A cast of 18 where if any of these names are on the actual cast, just know somewhere, somehow, I will be ecstatic. All these people would be great and I feel will create a great season of Survivor. So here I am. I will go through this cast the same way I went through the last, talking through these players in order from when they first appeared on Survivor and just give my explanation for not just why I want them on 50, but why I feel they at least have a chance to be out there on 50. Because in an ideal world, I would have my pick of the litter with anybody from Survivor history, but those dream casts are kind of boring to me, so I'm going to decide between people I feel are realistic options that have potentially been rumored from Reddit or online circles, or just my personal intuition or gut feeling. And this criteria for why I want them on 50 can be whatever the hell I want, so just hear me out on these picks and let me give my explanations because I'm very passionate about everybody here. Without further ado, I do want to give another shout out again to Judd SP. They've been very helpful in this process as an outlet to talk about these casts, and I just know I wouldn't be as excited about these casts or this list or this video without them. So again, their Twitter will be in the description of this video if you want to check them out. Let's do this, and I will be talking through my realistic dream cast for Survivor 50. I started my worst case scenario cast with a Survivor Borneo representative, and now I'm starting my dream cast with another Survivor Borneo representative, and I need Greg Buis back on Survivor. Obviously, if you keep up with any Survivor returning player lore, Greg has been contacted for every single returning player season he could have been eligible for. The show desperately wants Greg back. He's just either said no every time, or the one time he did say he would do it, which was for second chances, he had work obligations that stopped him from doing so. So in the year of our Lord 2025, I know that Greg definitely got that call, and I beg that the Survivor gods shine upon us, and we will see Greg out there for Survivor once and for all. Greg is an infamous character in the Survivor lexicon. He's the guy who just didn't take the show seriously and is one of the instant highlights from Borneo for me. And all these years later, my intrigue to see Greg again has only grown stronger. Some may hesitate in fear that he won't take the show seriously once again, and I kind of disagree because that's part of the reason I want Greg back. Greg is either going to return and bring back this type of character we haven't seen on Survivor since like Keith Nail, and I mean somebody who won't automatically be thinking about the strategy or the social game. Keith was in Keith's world, and Greg would be in Greg's world. And I think Survivor kind of needs that. Or Greg's going to flip the switch and start to play the game at this modern pace, or at least attempt to. And I'm fascinated with either of those outcomes. So I don't know how much more I can take from this Survivor. Just please get us Greg on this damn show. Moving on to Survivor Africa, we have somebody who desperately wants to come back, and I also desperately want to see them given that second chance again. And that's T-Bird. I'm never going to recover from the complete robbery that was T-Bird not making it onto Cambodia. And I don't even think that would have gone well for her, nor do I think a run on 50 would go well for her. But for her sake, I think T-Bird just deserves another shot. She has been begging production to bring her back for so long. She would go back to Survivor on one day's notice. That's how bad it is. And obviously, production has shown interest before if they're willing to let her on Cambodia, but it just never fully aligned to get her back on Survivor. And the main reason for this pick is T-Bird's involvement in the online community. Her Talking with T-Bird series is great, and she's just always a fun presence on Twitter as well. And come on, do you really want to make this woman sad she doesn't get to be on Survivor again? And it's not like T-Bird is this random person from one of the OG seasons or just a random person who got big because of the community. she was probably the main person on the season aside from that big three in Africa. I just want this to be checked off of her bucket list. If she does great, wonderful. If she does poorly, at least she got another chance, and that's all I really care about. So, Survivor, just bring her back. The next person I got, moving one season later to Marquesas, and somebody that so many people have begged to be back on the show. For a time, the stars were aligning, and aligning so well to the point where I'm going to be devastated if he's not on 50, and that's Shawn Rector. How has Shawn only played Survivor once? Like, that man is one of the most iconic people from pre-All-Stars, and easily the most iconic on Marquesas specifically. I'm not counting Boston Rob because Rob becomes iconic later on, but on that specific season, Shawn was the main character in my mind. And the show has shown interest in him in the past. The main reason he hasn't been brought back is because Shawn was an active voice to talk about the lack of diversity in Survivor. And like on his season specifically, it was him and Vesepia as the only black people the entire season. And he wouldn't want to come back to a game that lacks that diversity. But as we know in the modern day, the diversity initiative was pushed by previous Survivor alumni, and Shawn was again an active voice that was a part of that, to the point where Survivor had the diversity mandate. So before recent events, if Shawn looked at modern Survivor casting and was happy with what the state of it was at, as long as Survivor hasn't forgotten about him, I think they would ask him to play again and Shawn would say yes. Now, in recent news, obviously the diversity mandate was wiped from Paramount, which is so stupid. Fuck that. And it's looking more and more like Survivor 50 won't have the diversity mandate, which obviously puts a spanner in this works. But nonetheless, Shawn, we know, was at least in the running, and for that, he deserves to be on my Dreamcast because I love that man. Up next is probably the person I would be the most intrigued with seeing back on Survivor, and that's none other than the podfather himself, Rob Cesternino. I don't think this needs much of an explanation. Rob is the most well-known alumni in the online community, as well as the most influential alumni in the online community because of Rob Has a Podcast. I watch that shit all the time, and that's something Rob created to show his love for Survivor. I'm telling you, if Survivor 50 really wants to be a celebration of the show and give the love back to the fans, why wouldn't you cast the guy who has arguably given Survivor the most love, appreciation, and recognition for 15 goddamn years? And it's not like Rob was a nobody on Survivor either. He was a star on the Amazon and was one of the most well-known people and most deserving people to come back for All-Stars. Some still argue he's one of the best to never win. And Rob in the modern day is at a point where he's absolutely willing to play again. I know they're calling, just let it align and get him on the cast, because Rob is probably the person I want most on 50. Up next, we got a legend of Survivor. Certified top 10 player of all time, the only person in that absolute legend status that I will have on my list. And yet I've seen some pushback on if people actually want them back on Survivor. And while I understand their perspective, I am but a simple man. I see the opportunity for Sere Fields on my television. I want Sere Fields on my television. I understand the criticism of how much Sere we've gotten throughout the last few years. I mean, Snake in the Grass, Traitors, Big Brother, Australia vs. the World coming up, and potentially even Survivor 50. That's a lot of reality television in recent years, but this is like one of the most captivating reality TV presences ever. The only way I wouldn't want Sere back on my screen is if she wins Australia vs. the World, because a lot of the intrigue with Sere is that she hasn't won Survivor yet, despite being one of the best to ever do it. So if we cut to July or August or whenever Australia vs. the World airs and Sere wins, then I see no reason she should be on 50. But come on, y'all, even then, we don't know how she does yet, and that makes me super intrigued to see what Sere cooks up on her 5th season. Will she get her win, or will she get taken out in devastating fashion again? I don't know, but I'm super excited to find out if and when she's on the island. Because, come on, y'all, Survivor loves Sere. She's gonna be back. Moving up to Survivor China, we have somebody that has played a ton of days of Survivor, up there with the most all time. And yet, I feel like we've only gotten just a taste of her. Ignoring the fact that nobody has heard of her in over a decade, I want Amanda Kimmel back on Survivor very bad. We got her on 3 seasons in 3 years with China, Micronesia, and Heroes vs. Villains, where she obviously did very well on all 3. But then she just kind of fell off the face of the planet. But I think people kind of forget about how big of a name Amanda was at the time and during that era of the show. If Survivor wants to do what they said and cover all eras, Amanda and Sere feel like the people that could easily represent the teens of Survivor the best. I have no idea if Survivor production wants Amanda or if Amanda wants to be on Survivor again, but I think it would be such a fever dream to see how Amanda would play Survivor after all these years. This is my Greg Buis pick for the women, on somebody where I have no idea how they would do, how they would play, or how entertaining they would be in 2025. But I think she's such a core value to 3 of my favorite seasons of all time that I don't care what it looks like. I just need to see it happen again so I can find that answer out. Alright, my next pick here is definitely a random pick and somebody who I don't think is going to be back, but their name has at least circled the rumor mills on multiple seasons, possibly including 50, and that is an underrated queen I want back on Survivor, and that is Erin Lobdale from Survivor Token Teens. Erin has become lost in Survivor history, but I will never forget how iconic this woman was. I do find Token Teens to be an overrated season in some regards, but trust me, I am not talking about you, Erin. You were so witty and just a complete mood out there. I struggle to find a lot of people to truly root for and invest myself in on Survivor, but when you have somebody that feels completely relatable like Erin, she made it easy to hitch myself to her, and I was an Erin truther all the way until the end, even when I knew she had no shot of winning. I kind of want to feel that again. That quippiness and relatability doesn't just leave a person, so even after all these years, Erin will be somebody I can instantly root for, just like I did in Token Teens. And that is fun for me. I love myself a Survivor season where there are many options on who to root for and who I can get invested in. Erin would not be on most people's lists, I'm sure, but damn it, she's on mine and I'm never going to apologize for that. Now, I'm technically skipping the entirety of the 20s here, but like I said at the beginning, I kinda cheated, but I'm going to get to that at the very end of this video. So for now, my next person I'm going to talk about is a fan favorite. Everybody has been clamoring for on the online streets, and things have finally lined up for her to return. And I swear to God, Survivor, if you hoe us out of Sydney Gillian from being back on our television screens, I will be doing very bad things. Come on, the Survivor community has only begged and begged and begged for a Sydney return for as long as it's been since Go Wrong. She would have been back on Game Changers if she wanted it, but the only thing that stopped Sydney from returning was her bodybuilding career. Survivor obviously does wild things to her body, and she had a lot of trouble right after her first season that directly affected her bodybuilding career. But she always said she'd love to return whenever she retires from bodybuilding. And would you look at that? Sydney Gillian has retired, so bring her back. Sydney is such a unique player in the history of Survivor, and that is what everybody, including myself, is so infatuated with. We haven't never seen somebody like Sydney, and we never will. Why wouldn't we bring that back? Not to mention how great she played on Go Wrong. I mean, she ran that game from the post-merge like the Navy, and was in the driver's seat pre-merge too. Getting taken out in fire at the very, very end, where who knows if she actually wins, but she would have been damn close. And I think on her return, Sydney can definitely win, or at least be a big player and show production and the audience who aren't on the Sydney train why you need to hop on. Now we move on to David versus Goliath. And if it won't become abundantly clear by the 4 people from David vs. Goliath I have on this cast, I really love David vs. Goliath, and I need to rid the world of the fact that Nick Wilson is the only returnee from that season. And goddammit, I honestly could have put 6 people from the season on if I really wanted to, because Natalie Cole and Mike White are both icons, but won't be on the streamcast. However, I still got 4 people to talk about. The first of which being Gabby Pascuzzi. I think people forget Gabby was an integral part of Survivor David vs. Goliath. Her relationship with Christian was so compelling. her emotions and just being authentically herself connected with a lot of people that watch, and it made her extremely likable and rootable. And then at the very end, her eventual downfall was because she turned on that same ally that she was ride or die with the entire season before. That is such a good storyline. Her journey is underrated in Survivor history, and I think the fans will love her, and I hope production loves her enough to at least have her in the running. However, if there's a world where Gabby makes it on, I would love that. I enjoy Gabby on Survivor. I enjoy Gabby on Twitter. I enjoy Gabby on podcasts. And I enjoy Gabby on all these silly games they do, like Goose Goose Duck or Blood on the Clock Tower. I just enjoy Gabby. And she would be such a fun addition to Survivor 50. If not on 50, I really just hope she returns soon because she deserves it and would be great. Moving along to a person I was just talking about. I need Christian Hibiki back on Survivor. When making this Dreamcast season, the very first name I wrote down without even thinking about it was Christian. Not necessarily because he's the single person I want back the most, but I think it's a complete shame that he hasn't had an opportunity to come back yet. And he's easily a big enough name to be back on 50, and Survivor would be shooting themselves in the foot if they didn't cast the person who I believe to be the most deserving candidate from all those who haven't had a chance to come back until now. The fans love Christian, I know production loves Christian, and despite Christian being in the nerd archetype, he's so much more than that, and I expect Christian to be on Survivor 50, and whether or not it goes well, Christian's presence will be intriguing and give a lot of people a comfortable rooting interest. Not to mention, this man is a joy on every online platform he appears on. He's a professor for a reason. You are just so drawn in by everything he says, even if I don't understand half of it. The third of my 4 David vs. Goliath reps will belong to my honey, my boo, my beloved Davey Rickenbacker. People are quick to forget how much of a presence Davey was. Davey was up there as the most impactful player on the season, along with Christian, Gabby, and the final person I will talk about soon enough. Davey was a star on David vs. Goliath, and I cannot stand to watch my baby boy get snubbed from his reality TV return time after time after time. He was an alternate on The Traitors, and while I feel that his shot of being on this cast are also dwindling, I just need it. Davey, like Christian and like Gabby, was unique to Survivor casting. Not because he was a blurred or whatever, but his enthusiasm for the game and just appreciating the journey while also being a badass and rootable at the same time. He made great moves, including what was the moment of the season with the John Hennigan blindside. He caught a damn octopus, his mom was an icon, and I was so crushed when he was taken out right before the end. Davey needs a second chance. He deserves a second chance. And I'll be damned if Survivor's incompetence to make more returnee seasons takes that opportunity away from Davey to be on our television screens once again. And I will wrap this David vs. Goliath quartet by mentioning who I felt was the biggest lock of all time to return, that even Jeff Probst himself said she was the person from this season he wanted to return, and that's Angelina Keeley. Angelina, as far as characters go, is one of the best we've ever gotten. God damn it, that woman not only negotiated for Rice, she not only climbed up a 50-foot cliff with a ladder, not only was she the strategic queen of the Goliaths, not only did she mess with Allison at the final 5 because she was simply bored, and not only did she pander to the first juror of the season oh so shamelessly, but that woman asked Natalie for her goddamn jacket. I love Angelina, and all the reasons I just stated are why. The only issue I have was that people were weird about Angelina in like 2018 or whenever that season aired. Motherfuckers couldn't handle a female villain then. Yikes, in 2025 it might be a shit show. But I just need Angelina back for my sanity to see this lovely woman play Survivor again. I will be on these Twitter streets defending Angelina with my life if that's what it takes. The best part about Angelina is that you have no idea how her return would go. But I know I won't be disappointed regardless. She could flame out early in spectacular fashion. She could be the exact same Angelina she was back then, and I'ma eat it up. Or she could come out and be a true game player, and imagine a world where Angelina is a contender to win this game and run these people like the Navy. If Angelina is on, I don't think we can lose. It's going to be content. Now, aside from the special exception I made for the end of this cast, those are all of my pre-New Era selections. So now I will talk through those from the New Era that impacted me enough that they had to be on this damn cast. And I'm skipping over 41 again for obvious reasons. Jumping into Survivor 42, I need that animal-loving freak Omar Zahir. Omar was the narrator of Survivor 42, and pairing that with being a really good strategic presence and best friend of Marianne, oh yeah, that's a triple threat, baby, and that instantly makes Omar qualified to be on this legendary season. However, while I thought Omar was really good on Survivor 42, the main reason I want Omar back so bad that he made my Dreamcast is everything he's become after Survivor 42. I briefly mentioned before that some people in the RHAP community do Goose Goose Duck Game or play Blood on the Clock Tower, which brings in all types of people in the community, Omar included. And Omar is one of the most insane, sadistic, and entertaining players I have ever seen. I beg any of you to catch any one of these streams or any one of these videos they posted on RHAP because Omar is chaotic evil in the best way possible, and I kinda need a taste of that on the big screen. I'm jumping all the way to Survivor 45 with my next pick, and as much as I love Emily Flippin, no, this pick is not her. This is easily my most controversial take on this cast because I know some people hate him, but as Survivor 45 drifts further and further away, my love and appreciation for Drew Basile only grows. Drew was a diva out there, but we aren't ready for that conversation apparently. He was petty as hell, confrontational, and had such a big ego, but kind of made that likable, at least to me. Pair that with his confessionals that I adored and him being a pretty competent player. Plus, every podcast appearance Drew had has been a must watch. You just have no idea what he's about to say, but so intriguing no matter what. I think Drew in a cast like this feels like the mouse or somebody that's out of place, but I think Drew's personality will allow him to fit into this cast and play himself up so that he doesn't feel as out of place. Which I think if you're casting New Era players on 50, you need those players to not feel out of place or feel like they're a mistake. And I mean, Drew at least has a shot. Production loved him at the time. People were annoyed with all of his analogies, but Jeff ate it all up, and that's why they kept going to him for those analogies, even on the damn after show. And then Drew making an appearance on Jeopardy did him some favors and at least giving him a chance for 50. He had so much success on Jeopardy to the point where Jeff Probst himself wrote a letter to Ken Jennings, the host of Jeopardy, to congratulate Drew, which is a great sign if Jeff remembers you after the season aired. I see so much potential in Drew on a return, and I'm nervous people and production are going to look right past somebody that I think could become a star if they're given another chance to show what he's got. Moving on to Survivor 46, I have two people that made this cast. Truly the two bright spots on Survivor 46 for me in particular, starting with Venus Vafa. I adore Venus so goddamn much. She was my confrontational queen who didn't put up with any shit and simply just told things how they were. We need that on 50. She's going to rub people the wrong way, get into fights and rivalries, and that's only going to lead to better TV. Venus was the only good part of the Survivor 46 pre-merge in my opinion, and continued to be one of the best parts of the Survivor 46 post-merge as well. The only issue that almost made Venus ineligible for this list was everything that happened postseason. Obviously, Venus was pretty infamous for her Twitter rants where she just teetered the line a lot when it came to spoiling and just outright saying things that you probably shouldn't say when you're under contract with CBS. So that scared a lot of people, her fans included, where despite being such a big character, Venus might have just tainted her reputation and relationship with production to potentially return. Thanks to rumors, at the very least, she's not completely tainted. So if there is a world where Venus could return, I need Venus to return because that relatable queen deserves a second chance. And maybe it goes terribly, and Venus is actually the problem. But I don't care. I love what Venus brings to the show. There will never be a boring moment if Venus is there. Next up, I got the very next boot from Survivor 46, and he's probably the biggest lock to be on 50, and I absolutely believe this man should be on 50. It's Q. Come on, we all know why Q is here. This man is one of the greatest casting choices in Survivor history. You have no idea what he's going to say next, but you know it's going to be entertaining and probably stupid. Q-sticker, you can cancel Christmas. Big mistake. All of it is so good. And that man is clearly a real estate agent because he's literally selling us on his own damn catchphrases. And we all bought it hook, line, and sinker. Now, I'm not here to talk about how Q is going to do on 50, or hypothetically if he's on 50, but come on, he's on 50. That will be a later video. I need some characters on Survivor that aren't going to take it so seriously, and Q is going to be the perfect person that I live and die with for the 2 episodes he's there. I have a feeling we'll be talking a lot about Q very soon, so I'm gonna just leave it there. But yes, Q is great. Now I have the final woman to round out this cast. We have somebody that I was very conflicted about. Not because of this woman herself, but her fans were really obnoxious and made me kind of root against her for part of 47. But after a while, I realized that she slowly was becoming one of my favorite Survivor players ever. And that's Genevieve. I still don't associate myself with the Genevieve stands. Y'all are nuts. But I was questioning everything after I got to the end of Survivor 47 and realized how much I loved Genevieve and how much I was rooting for her, even though I knew she wasn't going to win. She's so incredibly dynamic to watch. She's very smart, very strategic, and even if I don't agree with some of her moves, she's just authentic and it takes you back into reality on top of everything else. She had a journey of feeling completely helpless and not wanting to play the game to finding that drive again, finding that love for Survivor again, and pulling off Operation Italy. And that journey just felt so fluid and so much more real than a lot of the other journeys we've watched, especially in New Era Survivor. She's so incredibly engaging, and I think that'll only intensify for me on a return when I can have that mindset from the beginning instead of just being annoyed with people on Twitter. Genevieve deserves the hype. I don't know if she deserves that much hype, but she's definitely worthy of being on Survivor 50, and I'll take that to my grave. And that's the cast, except for one more slot. This is the wonky scenario that I was talking about. I have 2 men here, and 2 men I adore so much, both being very worthy of being on this cast. However, I could not decide between the 2 of them, while at the same time, I don't think both of them being on this cast makes much sense to me with everybody else I have on this cast. So in my head, I decided, fuck it, I'm a cheat. So I'm technically putting both of them on this cast without actually putting both of them on this cast. Those 2 people are Malcolm Freeberg and Jonathan Penner. Both of these men are easily in my top 5 favorite Survivor players ever. Period. Both have a great story on why they should come back, and both are very deserving and have the legacy to back that up. With Malcolm, I feel like there's some unfinished business here. Game Changers kind of felt like it was supposed to be Malcolm's final run to see if he can make it to the end and win once and for all. And while I don't think he was primed to make a super deep run, we got completely hosed by a bullshit twist and JT's dumbass at the same time. Where now I kind of feel unsatisfied about Malcolm's legacy if that is the last we ever see of him. No, he needs another shot to see what he can do. And I think that Survivor 50, if this is going to be a cast of legends and big names, can give him a shot to actually ride off into the sunset the way he was meant to in 34. Malcolm just needs closure. And more importantly, I kind of need that closure more than he does. Meanwhile, Penner is a much different story. Survivor-wise, I think Penner is good. I mean, he's had 2 very iconic runs, especially in Philippines, which is one of my favorite single-season runs in Survivor history. So Penner doesn't need to come back to prove anything to me or to anybody. But Penner's story is so heartbreaking outside of Survivor, where he lost his wife Stacy to ALS, and that entire story broke my heart hearing Penner speak about it during the time and then after the fact when she tragically passed away. And with Penner willing to return, I think being able to see Penner come out and play, tell Stacy's story if he's willing to, would be so powerful and really inspiring to see. Yul talked through it a little bit during Winners at War, and I just adore Penner so much that him returning for that purpose is worth a spot on this cast for me. And then outside of that, production loves both these men. They're so charismatic, so intriguing to watch. I think it's a perfect casting choice if either of them make it on. Now, these are two guys taking up one spot because in my head, I just need at least one of them on 50. It doesn't really matter which one. I will be rooting hard as hell to see one of these two make it on 50 because either story would be so compelling and will not let me down no matter what. That is the cast, my best case scenario Survivor 50 cast, in my personal opinion. A cast of 18 that I will be rooting for if or when they are on this cast. That cast includes Greg Buis, Teresa T-Bird Cooper, Shawn Rector, Rob Cesternino, Sere Fields, Amanda Kimmel, Aaron Lobdale, Sydney Gillian, Gabby Pescuzzi, Christian Hubicki, Davey Rickenbacker, Angelina Keeley, Omar Zahir, Drew Basile, Venus Fafa, Q Burdett, Genevieve Mushalak, and Malcolm Freeberg / Jonathan Penner. I really just wanted to do this 2-part video series before the cast of Survivor 50 came out, just to talk through where my head was at on who I do and do not want on Survivor 50. Recently, my mind has just only been focused on 50 lately. I just had to release something to talk through my worries and my hopes. Aside from that though, you know I'll obviously be reacting to the Survivor 50 cast when that drops. And then I got some stupid little videos that will be coming shortly after to talk through Survivor 50 and plenty other reality TV topics as well. Just stay tuned for all of that. That's gonna do it for me. If you made it to the end of this video, I love ya. Platonically, of course. And I will undoubtedly see ya when I see ya. Bye-bye.